Okay, so it's time for another one of Mr. Francy's reviews. Hello and welcome. Let's get right to it. This is a review on the middle grade horror Goosebumps, My Hairiest Adventure. Now, you guys, this is going to be my first one star, yes, one star review. I picked up this book from my store that I work at, and the reason I picked it up was because I used to read this series all the time as a child and I loved them. I thought they were absolutely amazing. And recently I read a middle grade book that I absolutely loved. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just really amazing. So I thought, why not read this as well? Maybe I can start getting back into reading some middle grade stuff. But this book, you guys, this book shows that I'm definitely not the target audience when it comes to middle grade reading. I didn't think I could say that, but I definitely can with this book. So, with that in mind, let's get right into this review. Now, if you have not seen my reviews before, I do a spoiler-free and then spoiler version of my reviews. Starting off with the spoiler-free version, I give you 3 pros and 3 cons of what I thought about the book. Then we go into the spoiler version, I give you the plot in as much spoiler version as detail as I can, and then I give you my thoughts and feelings on it. So let's jump right in and not waste any time, starting off with the first con of this book, Goosebumps, My Hairiest Adventure. Number 1, the final climax occurs, you guys, wait for it, brace yourself, 3 pages before the end of the book. Really disappointed me. It literally was like, here's the climax, here's why the climax occurred, and oh wait, it's the end of the book. And this really annoyed me because the climax was the most interesting part of the book, so I wanted to read more about why it happened, but no, it was just, here's how it's going to resolve, here's why this had to happen, the end in 3 pages, that's it. Did not like R.L. Stine. Not a fan of this. Now, I don't know if this is a middle grade thing or not, but with the last middle grade book that I read, this was definitely not the case. I had many more pages to read. There wasn't an epilogue, but it felt like there was an epilogue in the book. This one, 3 pages, really, including the final climax? No. Massive con for me. My second con for this book is that a lot of the book is very bland. It really was. I can't give away anything because this is a spoiler-free section, but I felt like I was following the protagonist along and he really wasn't doing much at all. Now, granted, I do understand that this is a middle grade book, but if I compare it to the other middle grade book that I've read so far this year, that one had a lot going on. Both of them are plot-driven stories, and this one just had next to nothing. It was just completely... It flatlined for me. It really did. My third con is that the book is nowhere near long enough. Seriously, they should have rounded it up to the nearest 100 and made it a 200-page book, which I don't think is necessarily a sin for a middle grade book. The last middle grade that I read, I think, was about somewhere between 250 and 300 pages, and this is about 144. Had they rounded up and created additional pages to this book and gone further post-climax, I think it would have been a much more enjoyable experience. But unfortunately, no. So, those are my 3 cons. Now let's get into the pros. Did I have any pros? If so, what were they? Let's get into them in just a moment. So, I cannot sit here and say I love this book. I don't. But I am not the target audience for this book, and I am very mindful of that. You may be the target audience for this book, or you may have children who definitely are the target audience for this book. And when I was a child, I loved this series. I do not remember this book in particular, but I do remember loving the series. So please keep that in mind when you watch my reviews, that I am sitting here as an adult talking about a middle grade book that I didn't like. You may love it. But here are some pros that may help you to pick out this book for yourself, for your children, or other family members or friends, who knows. My first pro for this book is that it is an easy read. It's a middle grade book, so that shouldn't surprise me. But in saying that, this is the easiest middle grade writing style that I have ever seen. As I have said a few times already in this review, I read another middle grade book. It was a little earlier this month, and as I said already, I gave that one 4.5 stars. This writing style in this one was much simpler than that one. It was an incredibly easy read, and I got through this book, I think, within 2 days, and which I should be able to do on page count alone, but it was more the writing style. It was incredibly simplistic. And so I really did appreciate that it was an easy read. My second pro for this book is, you guys, this is going to have a lot of you going, Mr. Francy, I think we need to have some words. But it's true. This book is scarier than Pet Sematary, and that is saying a lot. I know that a lot of you out there have seen the film, and you found the film to be really scary. I have not seen the film for Pet Sematary. I've only read the book. Some of you thought that that book was incredibly scary, but I just did not find it scary at all. I'm not saying that I had to go to sleep with the light on with this book. I didn't. But what occurs during the plot of this book, the scary parts of this book, were scarier than the adult horror, Stephen King's third scariest book apparently, Pet Sematary. Again, this is just me, but I just really appreciated the way that R.L. Stine went about writing the scary things that came up in this book in comparison to that adult book. And I did some research and found out that R.L. Stine has written some adult books, and I'm going to see if my library can get them for me, or if they have copies of them. At the moment, my library is currently closed thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, and so I don't know when it's going to reopen, but when it does, I'm definitely going to put an R.L. Stine adult horror book on hold for me and see what I think comparatively to Stephen King's. My third pro is that the plot is actually a good plot. It was a mundane read, but the plot itself was actually okay. What I need to separate here between the pro and the con of what I've discussed so far when it comes to the plot is that this is a horror story. Granted, it is middle grade, but it's still horror, so I need to look at it as, do I think it's scary, all that kind of stuff. Scarier than Pet Sematary? Granted, not scary though, not as far as I'm concerned, but scarier than Pet Sematary. But the plot itself, outside of the fact that it's a horror, was actually okay for a middle grade. So definitely, I suggest that you pick this up if you like middle grade stories, if you have children that are getting into reading, especially if you have children that are getting into reading. This is a great book to start with, or at least Goosebumps is a great series to start with for many reasons, but the best of them being they are short and the writing style is incredibly easy to follow. So if you have a child who says, I don't want to read, and you want them to read, get a Goosebumps book for them. See how they go with it. Definitely I recommend it for that basis. So that's where I'm going to leave it for the spoiler-free version of this review, and if you are leaving me, I completely understand. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday and reviews in between, naturally, so I will see you next time. For those of you who are sticking around with me for the spoiler version of this review, then stick with me and I'll be back with you right after this break. Those of you who are leaving, thanks for being here and happy reading. Bye! Okay, let's discuss the spoiler version of this book. Now, it was never my goal to start this booktube channel by... I never wanted to come on here and say, I don't like this book and really put authors down and things like that. I did, however, come into this channel very clearly saying to all of you that if I don't like a book, you're gonna hear about it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, this was amazing, when I did not love it. And I did not love this book. Truth be told, I ummed and ahed for a couple of days over whether or not I should actually even be doing this review, considering I don't like the book. But then I thought I wouldn't be sticking true to my own premise and promise of this channel if I did not include reviews of books that I don't like, as well as books that I do. Let's talk about the plot. This is a book that is based around the main character, who I need to remind myself of his name. His name is Larry Boyd. And Larry, he's a school kid, he goes to school, he is part of a band, and one day the band are rehearsing at one of the band members' house, and they go to, I think it's like primary or elementary school if you're American. They're taking a break, they go out into the snow, and Larry finds a bottle of Insta-Tan. Great way to get an instant tan. So they all take the bottle inside, and all the kids try the tan lotion on, but it doesn't really do anything for any of them. Although that night or the next day, one of them, Larry, starts growing fur on his hands, and you can see it there on the book cover. This seems to progress as we go throughout the book. So he starts off with fur on one hand, he ends up shaving it off, then he gets fur on another hand, then he gets it on his forehead, and it just continues to grow more and more as we go throughout the book. And I really appreciated that about the book, that it wasn't just here's one little scary thing, here's another scary thing, or no scary things until we get right to the end. This scary thing just kept popping up every couple of chapters, and I really did appreciate that. We get to the end, and the band have been working towards a competition that they are doing at the school against a competing band whose two members are, what is the PC word to use here, who are really mean to these kids. And so the kids of Larry's band, they really just want to beat them and show them that, good hard work can win the day rather than being mean. And the other bands seem to have a lot of money, and so they get things like synthesizers and things like that to try and make them better and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so the mean band, because there are other words I want to use, there are, but I won't. The mean band goes out and performs, and everyone loves them. So much so that they're screaming encore, 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 so they come back and do an encore. Then it's Larry's band's turn to go on. They do. The crowd seems to like their first song, but not as much as they liked the other band. Then they do their second song, and Larry has a guitar solo. He plays, I believe it's electric guitar, but I could be wrong there. He plays some kind of guitar. He has a solo in this second song. So he starts playing the guitar in the solo, and suddenly the crowd are going wild. And bless Larry, because he's like, oh my God, they love me. And he's getting really into it. And rather than just nervously strumming the guitar, he's like getting down on his knees and doing the whole, I don't play guitar, but you know what I mean? Bless him. And then he realizes once the song is over that he's grown fur everywhere. And the reason why everyone loves the second song that they did was because they all thought it was special effects. Meanwhile, Larry's running off the stage going, oh my God, if only they knew what was going on with me. So it turns out Larry's band does win in the end because of the special effects, which is the hair growing on him. And then he ends up going home. During the book, Larry asks, first of all, his best friend in the band if she has been growing hair, and she says, no, I have not. Then he asks the band all together, and everyone seems to be making fun of him. That's something that I should have pointed out in my cons as well that I didn't. He's friends with these members in his band, but they tease him a lot, and I really don't appreciate that. I don't think it's a good lesson that R.L. Stine is putting into this book, is that your friends are meant to tease you. I don't think that's a good idea at all. And it's not lighthearted teasing. It seems to be pretty horrible teasing, even when he tells them to stop. So I did not like that. But anyway, when he asks the band, his best friend, who he's already asked and who has said no, doesn't really answer. She just kind of busies herself doing other things. Then one day he's coming home with his mum, or going somewhere with his mum, and a dog comes up to them, and on the dog's collar there is a gold coin, the exact same gold coin that his best friend wears. Apparently her dad brought it back from some vacation that he went on to. So he realizes that it's her. To cut a long story short, the day of the concert, he runs home determined to show his parents, look, this is what's going on with me. What the heck do we do? And he says to them, what do we do? And they say, oh, it's not because of the Insta-Tan or anything else. It is because you are a dog. Yeah, can we just have a moment here? It is because you are a dog. Wait, what? So I'm sort of sitting here reading this going, wait, what? I don't understand. Now, as I said, in the spoiler-free version, we get 3 pages. One, where, the third last page, it is not because of the Instatan, it's not because of other things that go on, it's because you're a dog. 2, here's how you are a dog. 3, the last page, half a page, wrapping it up with him going on to become that dog, and his friend are hanging around gardens and enjoying the smell of flowers and dirt. No, I don't like this. It is plot convenience at its absolute finest. It was something that came way far out of left field, but what I don't like is that it ended so abruptly. Why can't we have more information about this? Now, the little information we do get is apparently Larry was born as a dog, but this scientist came up with an idea that he came up with some kind of serum that turns dogs into humans, and he was doing a trial. Everyone that lives in Larry's community, all of the children were born as dogs, and he's turned them all into humans. Provided they keep getting shots, which Larry gets shots all throughout the book, then they can remain as human as they can. Sorry about the noise in the background. They can remain as human as they can, and the children are none the wiser because the parents don't think to tell them, and clearly the children don't even remember that they are dogs. And now he's growing his fur back, and he's become a dog once again, and he's accepted this, and on he goes with his friend to smell the flowers and smell the dirt and have a good time. And I just do not accept this. I'm sorry. Maybe there'll be some middle grade readers who read this and go, oh yeah, he was a dog, fair enough. Let's read another book. But not me. I want some justice, R.L. Stein. No. The whole dog thing was so interesting. I was not predicting it at all. I thought it was part of the Instatan, or he gets injections, as I said, throughout the book, and we now know why, because he's a dog to keep him human. But I thought maybe it was the injections, a side effect, or something like that. I did not expect the ending. The ending was so good, but 3 pages, 1 to say what was actually going on, 2 to explain why, and then half a page left to wrap it up was nowhere near enough, and it annoyed me. So, yeah, I would love to give this book 2 stars. I really would. And the wrap-up of this book could have done it for me. But, well, technically 2.5 pages rather than 3. 2.5 pages of what is the climax, why is the climax, the end. No. Does not work for me, and I do not think I can read another Goosebumps book that does that to me again, because the rest of it was, the plot was fine, but it wasn't engrossing at all. It was not a captivating plot. The scary parts were great, but the standard plot was not captivating enough. But had Larry been told, say at the end of a second last chapter, and then there were like 10 pages left for us to fully understand what's going on, and for the parents to sit down and really talk to him about what's happening, and okay, you're a dog and that's why this is happening, and well, since this has happened, there's no other way to make you a human again, so now you're going to have to continue to live your life as a dog, and we're really sorry about this. And then let's have Larry trying to rework his way through life being a dog from being a human. That would have been great, but that did not happen. And oh my God, I'm just really angry about that. Anyway, all in all, I'm sure you're not surprised that I could not give this book any higher than a 1 star. But in saying that, I will repeat what I did say earlier, which is, if you have a child that isn't into reading that you would like to get into reading, or if you have a young child who wants to start reading, this could be a good book to start with. Yes, it's scary. Maybe, I don't know every child is exposed to different horrors in media, so whether it be TV, movies, whatever it is. So I don't know if your child might consider this to be too scary, but the only really scary thing that happens is that he grows fur on his body. So it's not as scary as other ones that... I remember there was a Goosebumps book I read a while back about a ventriloquist what a word, dummy by the name of Slappy. That was a tough one for me to read. This one, it seems like more of a tamer Goosebumps book. So I would definitely recommend this for young children. I would recommend this to you if you want to add another book to your read books pile for the year and you want a short read, because it really is a short one. But if you want to read books that you are going to be fully invested in and you do not want to be disappointed by the ending, or in this case, how abrupt the ending is, then do not read this book, because it will not be the book for you, just like it was not the book for me. So 1 star for this book, and that's where I'm going to leave it. This was my review on Goosebumps, my Hairiest adventure by R.L. Stine. 1 star from me. And that is where I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday and reviews in between. Thank you again for watching and happy reading. Bye, guys. Bye.